We are going to cover our tenets today. Within the Layman's Lab, we've had discussions about what we believe these tenets are.
Yeah.
And I think we're pretty much set in where we are. Mind, body, spirit has always been a major factor for me because those are the three things that you have to always keep in balance. But one just came to mind to us, which is abundance and the concept of what abundance means to people, right?
Yeah.
So what I would like to do in today's episode is I want to go through each one of those, break down the subcategories, how we perceive each one, and then explain to, the audience listening is how those tie into with our assistance and how we want to help people.
Yeah.
Right. So let's start with the one that's nearest to my heart and I believe to you, which is body.
Yeah.
My personal take on this is, as a man, you should use your body to its full potential for the entirety of your life. There shouldn't be an excuse as you age to say, well, now I become sedentary. Now I don't do this anymore. You should use your body for whatever you can for as long as you can. Take into account that as you age, you want to be able to play with your kids, play with your grandkids.
Yeah.
You want to be capable in a situation where you need to be capable. And the use it and lose it rule is a very real thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So when we talk about body, the two things that are the first that come to mind is physical exercise and nutrition.
Yeah.
Right. Those are two major tenets, right, under body, which I think it's always a good starting point for me. If you want to break down for anybody struggling to find purpose, right, I usually find that people who are keeping themselves physically active, looking after their nutrition, generally they may have a little bit of a dip in mind, body, spirit, and abundance. But if their body is reasonably high, the others don't tend to be far behind.
Right.
What's your take on that, Kevin?
Yeah, I think I kind of live this with the physical part, where I let myself get out of shape, but it just happens. It's not anything intentional. I think a lot of Americans deal with that. People around the world in general. So the journey to get back to fit is challenging, and you are essentially going to have to go through some pain.
Yeah.
Right. But here's what makes me think: choose your hard is an expression that comes to mind. Right. When you think fitness and nutrition, to me, it should be easy, but it's really hard for some folks because they just don't know what to do, which is where I think we come into play, is we can help you with that and find a plan that works for any palate.
Yeah.
Going back to choosing your hard, like you said, you want to be able to play with your kids for a long time. You want to be able to do an abundance of things, not to go to that tenet, but you want to be able to do all kinds of just physical type activities, regardless of what it is. And I mean, we're pretty versatile people, if you ask me, when it comes to physical capability. But I would say with myself, I lost that for a while. So I had to retrain a lot of my body. I'm still working through that, especially with my knees. But to me, when it comes to physical fitness, and your nutrition, you choose your path in life. Which hard do you want to deal with?
Yeah.
Do you want to go through physical pain in the gym, or do you want to go through physical pain through ailments and heartaches and illnesses and whatever disease comes with not taking care of your physical fitness and your nutrition? I've watched a lot of people out there when they talk. Let's use this one video I recently saw. I think she was a doctor. She was talking about when you go to the beach, for example, like people that are battling skin cancer or things like that, and you go sit out in the sun, what do you put on your body? They put a sunblock full of chemicals that soak into your body. Then what are you doing? You're eating and drinking like shit. Right. So if you choose to go over to the beach and you put the chemicals on your body and then you're eating and drinking and partying and whatever you're doing, that's one play. And that's, I'm sure, a good time. It's fun. It's enjoyable. But I told you when we had a meal after our workout about when I was in Vegas and how we were going a number of places, and I had to sit and rest because my feet, knees, and back were killing me.
Yeah.
And I was like, this just can't end this way. Like, it can't go like this. I've got to do something. So I did. I took action. I changed my mindset around physical health and nutrition, and started to get back on track, and push myself, push my body, push my limits to the best of my abilities at that time.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't know if we want to break this out, but what we did in our workout today is just a reminder of continue to push yourself to do difficult things to help you with the aging process. And because again, choose your hard. Do you want to be that old person walking around with the cane because you don't have somebody helping you everywhere you go? You're terrified of a fall? I mean, we've all seen the pictures of the 65-year-old, fit, in shape, great looking guy versus the 65-year-old who didn't take care of themselves. Which one do you want? I want to be the fit, healthy 65-year-old.
Yeah,
And my decisions today are going to feed that.
One thing I want to make clear to everyone listening is, by no account is this a advocation for trying to live forever or trying to live past a certain point. It's about making the most about your life on a daily basis.
Right.
And within the tenets that we talk about, specific on the body, nutrition and physical exercise is a given. I don't care what age you are. If you're a young 20-year-old and you listen to this podcast, I can tell you now, if I could speak to myself at 20 years old, I was pretty physically fit, but I would change and do so much more.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Because I realize the benefits now as I've gotten old. With that said is, the four tenets that we have underneath body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the sub-tenets, as we would call them, is we have your physical exercise, nutrition, biohacking, and preventative health. Now, the reason I want to touch specifically on preventative health. So today what we did is we went into the gym and did exercises designed to help your body move in ways that don't naturally move.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of training in regards to changing motion on your hips, joints, especially your knees and hips. We're trying to rehabilitate your knees to get back to a healthier form.
Yeah.
Now, part of what we also did is we did rolls. Now, it sounds as simple as hell. Is you take your kid to a gymnastics class, right? And they take them there and they teach them how to do a front tumble. Now, your mindset goes as you age. It's the same as if you'll watch videos and you'll see someone, or you'll be at a party and someone says, well, I can still do a con.
Yeah.
I haven't done one in 15 years. And they do a cartwheel and they fall on the head.
Yeah.
The reason being is we have a memory lapse of what we were able to do at a younger age. So when you were younger, I could do this. Now, what happens is your mind sets a standard. We do it with strength training. We do it with fitness, right? You go, I used to be able to run 20 miles. I can't run 20 miles. But then there's the flip side where you tell yourself, I can still do that, especially when it's something short and simple, like a cartwheel.
All right.
So what we did today is we went into the gym, and if you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, any form of MMA, you guys do this consistently in training. It's break forward, right? It's rolling forward, rolling backwards. The reason you train that in MMA is to be able to move your body based on a fall. So when you fall, not to fall down on your face, so that you fall into a position to be able to adjust your body into a defensive position. So what we did today was a simple thing. Go down on your hands and knees, put your head down and roll forward. If you haven't done this in a long time, it seems crazy, because what happens is as you age, it's everyone.
Which was my story today.
Right. So as you age, the process of aging isn't as much your body adjusting. Yes, if you're going to lift a certain way, your body's going to kick against it as you age, because your tendons will age, your joints will age. So you've got to work around the training. But basic things like rolling over, right? Just doing a tumble forward. It was amazing to me. The first thing you said to me was like, I can't do this. I'm like, yes, you can. But the reason you feel like you can't is because you haven't put your body in a position where it has to regulate its equilibrium.
Yeah, I think we'll share the video of it because we have that recorded. Whenever I was trying to figure out how I was going to do this tumble, there's a fear factor involved.
Yep.
So the exact verbiage that I use, it's probably on the recording. I can't fucking do this, is what I told myself. Then I stood up, motivated myself, and then I was like, don't be a fucking pussy. So I got down and I did it.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, I slammed harder than I probably wanted to. But I did it. It makes a lot of sense to do. We're big guys.
Yeah.
Like, we are not small people. And there was a busy day in the gym today.
I
don't know how many weird looks we got.
And it goes back to ego, right? Preventative health, the focus of preventative health is you can get sick or get an injury. When it happens to you, you can now work on either the symptom, which is what the medical industry does. They'll give you medication to treat the symptom.
Yeah.
Or you can treat the cause, which is basically rehabilitation.
Well,
but preventative, right? You want to prevent in the scenario, right? So that your brain knows how to equalize when your equilibrium is off.
Right.
What you're doing is you're teaching your body to put itself into positions, which is natural, right? We're naturally able to do these things.
Yeah.
But the point of this is, as we age, there's certain things we just stop doing. You'll find a lot of people as they age go, oh, I can't run anymore. Yes, you can. You just stop running.
Yeah.
I can't do sprints. Yes, you can. You just stop doing them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It doesn't mean that you're going to be as fast as when you were 20.
Right.
Obviously, there's an aging process, but use it or lose it. Hopping, specifically in the gym, there's a lot to be said for preventative health. In physical fitness, preventative health is doing movements right? We don't look like the big buff bodybuilders walking in, picking up weights, doing that.
Right.
They said, we're walking in there and we're walking backwards with sled.
Very versatile.
It's a versatile thing. We're doing sprints. We're doing high knees. We're moving our bodies in a way that we don't on a daily basis. We're creating a preventative health system where we're moving our joints and our body in a specific way to ensure that that movement is not so foreign to your body that when you eventually do it. So here's a scenario. One of the movements we did today was a backwards fall. You stand straight up, you squat down, roll onto your back, flip over on your head and push off on your hands so you land on your feet. Why is this important? Right. Because if you ever fall, right, as you're aging, and if you've practiced this enough, you drop your all-cause mortality by being able to avoid falls.
Right. You brought that up to me when we first started training together. One of the big things that you talked to me about that I didn't really think about previously, but slip, trips, and falls is one of the biggest killers of elderly.
Yes.
So if you have grip strength to hold on to something, you might prevent a fall. If you have leg strength, you have the ability to hold yourself up. We do a lot of leg and grip strength training, cross training type stuff. I'll share an actual story. I remember, I think it was my oldest, maybe. I don't remember which child. I was walking out of the garage. I had her in the car seat under my arm like this. And this is when I was out of shape. This is when I had bad knees. I didn't see water. My garage floor can get really slippery if you're in flip-flops or Crocs or some kind of a Florida shoe. Didn't see this water, and my foot hits that, goes straight forward, and I dropped straight down on my bad knee.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I didn't really do anything like major, but I definitely hurt it. And it took me a good 6 months to recover from that. And so it also set me back in my journey with everything. But my point of even saying that is like, I was probably 40 when that happened, maybe even in my 30s. If I was, let's call it 60, 70 years old, and you hit that water like that and you fall, like those can be killers.
Like a life-ending event.
Right. Literally life-ending events. So what we're doing, these rolls that we did today, start to incorporate the knees and getting those back into it, using those joints, doing these physically hard things. I think it's fun, but it's also a challenge. You don't see people doing what we're doing in the gym.
No.
That's what I think is fun about it.
It's not the norm that you go in, and what we start pushing out. The reason that body is one of our tenets is because it's not just physical exercise.
Right.
On the most basic level, get up, get outside, go for a walk.
Right.
On the more advanced level, how well do you want to age? How much do you want to be able to do? There's oftentimes you'll see someone who's older, in their 60s and 70s, and you'll see them move as if they're 30. I want to be that guy.
Sure.
I want to move that way. So under Body Tenets, there's physical exercise, there's nutrition, right?
You know who inspires me a lot?
Yep.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
Like that guy, he did Expendables 4.
It looks fantastic.
Crazy.
And he moves
how
well.
well he moves, the stunts he does. That's kind of my hero. Like, I want to be like that.
You want to age and be one of those guys. So you want to be the older guy that people go, wow, look how that guy moves, right? And there's so many aspects of it. So under the Body Tenets, you have it. You got your physical exercise, you got your nutrition, right? Biohacking is a very important one. What is biohacking? Biohacking is finding mechanisms through supplementation, diet, chemical intervention like TRT to give yourself a boost in longevity. I watched a very interesting video where a guy was advocating for taking Cialis every day. Right now, not Cialis so that you can have an erection in the whole day, but for blood flow, purely to oxygenate your body.
Interesting.
So physical exercise is part of biohacking. The type of exercise you do is part of biohacking. Your nutrition is part of biohacking. Your supplementation, your chemical regimen that you take in regards to TRT or anything to boost your natural hormone levels, peptides.
Yeah.
The whole point of biohacking is finding mechanisms to find what works best for you to keep you at tip-top form as you age. And it's not even about aging. It's not about tomorrow. It's about today. I want to feel like $1 million every day when I wake up.
Yeah.
That is the purpose under the Body Tenets of those 4 sub-tenets.
Yeah.
Is to keep you within that realm. And what I've found is a lot of people I'll sit and talk to, and we'll talk about aging, and we'll go, oh, well, how old? Well, I'm turning 45 this year. Great. How do you feel? Honestly, if I had to be super honest, I feel better now than I did when I was 30.
I do too.
And again, I'm not saying that superficially to try and elevate. I'm saying it because when I was 30, there were so many things that I didn't do that I do now. And by all accounts, is if I could speak to myself when I was 30 years old, go, listen, you want to do these things, it would have changed how I lived my life at 30 years old.
Yeah.
But these things come with experience. So now what we're trying to do is take these experiences and lay them out for everybody. And Layman's Lab, the whole purpose of this is to take something that is technically difficult to kind of comprehend. None of it is actually that difficult. What we want to do is break it down. We want to lay these snakes out straight. It's the same concept as all about TRT, testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
Right. What is TRT? TRT is steroids. When you watch a guy like The Rock, right? The Rock turned 50 last year, so he's 51 this year. And you look at The Rock and you go, he's on steroids. Yes, he is. And he should be, because he should be taking TRT.
Right.
So is Joe Rogan. So is everybody over the age of 40 who looks good. Right. The levels of what they do and how they do it are immaterial. The point is, each one of them is taking steps to maximize their own personal life in regards to physical fitness, mental health, and abundance in all things.
Yeah.
So find those mechanisms. There are so many tools available. And what we're going to do within the Layman's Lab is break these tools out for you. And we're going to tell you what, one, based on research, we found that works. So I'm not stuck on any one thing. You and me both are research guys. I will always research the best mechanism I can find currently. I will research them to the point, if they look like they're something that's going to work, I'll try it. Years ago, I looked at veganism. If you decide you want to just eat plants and you forget the moral stance on it, and that works for you, I want to hear how it works. For you. Right. I want to make sure I'm healthy. I want to make sure my gut's healthy. All steps from the top to the bottom. To make sure those steps are there, I have to, not want to, not kind of want to, I have to make sure that I give myself, my body, my engine. You've mentioned before, my engine needs to get the best fuel.
Yes.
Needs to have everything that I can do to make my engine run and purr. And those tools are available to us. But like in any market, there's so much information, so much misinformation.
Real quick, point on the engine thing. My doctor basically said to me, you're trying to build a Corvette, put a Pinto engine in it. Yeah. You need to put the right engine in the Corvette to make the Corvette perform the way it needs to. And I think we've evolved so much when it comes to health, well-being, and medical stuff. There's a lot of corruption and evil in the world too. But if you take your health into your own hands, which is what we do, if you take your health in your own hands, you get your blood drawn, get your numbers looked at, see where you're actually at, and understand what you need.
Yeah. Take accountability.
Having the right people in your corner to help you. Not that we're medical professionals, but if TRT is going to help me, which we both agree that all males over the age of 30, definitely 40, need or should be on it. But like peptides, that's kind of a new thing for me. I think it's newer to you too, of just being open up to that idea. Yeah. So we're exploring that. To me, peptides, if it's going to help me achieve, a better, lasting, fulfilling life. I think the big thing for me on TRT, it gave me so much more energy back.
Yeah.
Yes, being healthy and fit, but if it gives me the energy to do a lot of things, which we both do, we go places, we have businesses, I need energy to drive the truck, right? Yeah. So why wouldn't I use a supplement that helps me with that?
And it's not even just a supplement, you see, because I find that, and not even just TRT, and you're not wrong, it is a supplement. You're supplementing your testosterone.
Right.
But I find it very interesting how people attach their health to one thing. You'll see, well, I go to McDonald's, I buy myself a Big Mac, but I get a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
That's because it offsets the Big Mac. I have this one problem, so I just take magnesium. Trying to have a good understanding of your body. And if you don't, there's guys like Gary Brecker, who's got 10 times down in Miami. He'll do a genetic test and he'll tell you which supplements work for you and which don't. That's part of biohacking, is trying to understand how your body works. And you can no longer go, well, my doctor will tell me. Because what happens, as we've seen,
really won't,
is if you find a good guy, there's good doctors out.
Sure.
Right? Dr. Sean Baker, they're good guys, but they're hard to find. And do you really want to trust someone to the nth degree? There's enough information that you can go discern, what really works for me. So I'd put it on everybody to really up your game on research, utilize the tools you have to understand, okay, why TRT? Right? Why are we on TRT? Because if your testosterone drops under a certain mark, the medical industry will say around 600-700. Realistically, your testosterone should always be over 900. When it drops under a certain marker, there's other hormones, other systems in your body that stop working effectively.
Yeah.
And you want to try and counteract that. So you utilize all this information to try and get it. So under our tenets of body, we work with physical fitness. You have to use your body, right? Is it's sad to see the man that does not utilize his body throughout his life.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's nutrition. As you said, nutrition's the hard part. People don't always assume it's the hard part, but we know it is, because nutrition comes with a form of addiction and a massive release of hormones. When you eat sugar, you feel great. You get that oxytocin release, or the dopamine hit, right? So you really want to try and find nutrition that works for you. Don't just hop on whatever you see. Make sure you can actually be accountable for that diet. You're going to set yourself up for failure if you hop onto any type of nutrition plan without researching if this works for you.
I want to make a point on that because I have a lot of empathy for people who struggle with the meal plan and the nutritional side of it, because I was one of those for a very long time. And I grew up in a household. I had a recent conversation with my mom about, she went to the doctor and she's had some stuff going on that I don't want to share publicly, but her doctor said, you need to do X, Y, Z in her meal plan or her nutrition. And for her, it's a stress point, massive, massive stress point for me to even just have a simple conversation with her about it. It shut her down. Like, she just did not, it was just stressful. She didn't want to talk about it because she was never raised around it and never understood it, which is sad because, she actually does eat the things that she could be healthy in terms of eating, but no one's ever laid it out to her in a way that she understood it. That's why I love our podcast, because Layman's Lab is for the simple-minded person like us.
Yes.
To get simple-minded people explaining it simple-minded ways.
Yeah.
So I look at the nutrition side and say, if you're struggling with us, stay with us on this journey. We're going to post meal plans. We're going to post workouts and stuff, but we're going to share these experiences about meal plans and how it's not as hard as you think it is. It's the mental discipline to follow something.
But that follows straight into our second tenet, which is mindset. Everything that you start doing, it's a 10,000 hour rule, you are not accustomed to will be easy.
That's right.
Right. Some things, if you have a knack for it, some athletic endeavors, you'll be better than others.
Yeah.
But generally, if you're starting something new, it's going to be hard. Right.
100%.
So
then you're not going to be very good at it.
You're not going to be. So you
prove it on this.
Yeah. So you take it in stride and you just keep chipping away. Something that is hard today, with consistency and a good solid mindset, will become easy tomorrow.
Yeah.
You just need to keep pushing at it. So that drives straight into our second tenet, which is the mindset, right? Your mind is your most powerful tool.
Yes.
It's the one thing that no matter what happens to you physically, you can always control what's happening within your mind.
Yeah.
And you want to take that journey as seriously as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So mindset is a big one. The body part and mindset kind of work together, but there's additional aspects to mindset that I think a lot of people need to really take seriously.
It's probably my favorite one.
Because your mindset determines how well your body is going to do.
Yep.
Your mindset determines how well your spirituality is going to do. Your mindset determines how you perceive abundance.
Mm-hmm.
So out of all the tenets, your mind is your most powerful asset.
Totally.
You have to have emotional intelligence, right? You could argue that someone goes, I've got a strong mind. Okay, do you have a strong mind or you just stuck?
Yeah.
Do you not listen to others? Or do you decide one thing is red, it's red, no one can tell me it's not red, and if it's not red, I won't listen to them.
Right.
That doesn't really have you a strong mindset. It actually gives you a weaker mindset.
Right.
So the first touch you want to do on a mindset is you want to have emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence?
Mm-hmm.
It means that when people around me, their emotional reactions, we can try and sit down and say that we're robots and we're just purely logic. We're not.
No.
We run on logic and emotion.
Oh, yeah.
They're both a big part of who we are.
For sure.
For men specifically, you don't just want to understand everyone else's emotions. You also want to understand your own, because we're taught from a young age, part of masculinity is emotions are bad. You don't cry in front of anyone. Some of those are true to a point, but you want to understand your emotions so that you can better, if you can regulate emotion, you can control the world.
Totally. Yeah. I think emotional intelligence is a big one for me. I love the mindset topic. Mindset, I could go on for a long time about that. Going back to sports days, athletes days, military time, post-military time, just relational with your family, your wife, your kids, your loved ones, friends, people in general. It's really important that you dive into your mindset. Yeah. You dive into your brain and what's going on. Having emotional intelligence isn't just at work. It's in every interaction that you have. Yeah. It's learning how to pause and think in the moment of an exchange, reading a room, being aware of what's going on. I've been through a corporate course on emotional intelligence, so it's something that's near and dear to my heart. What happens, I think, and this is my story, if I'm in a work setting and a trigger happens to an employee, I know how to process and handle that because I've been so trained to do so.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't translate at home. And that's something that I've had to be really intentional on fixing.
It's harder at home.
Because you allow yourself to, I can let my guard down and be my true self.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
We're really talking a lot towards men, right? That's our target audience, is entrepreneurial men. Well, entrepreneurial men are very competitive, a lot of energy, a lot of high level like stress that we deal with, a lot of challenges that we deal with. A lot of us former athletes, we work out. So when things arises happen at home, we get emotionally charged and triggered and we let it out.
Yes.
And one things that I've learned is our spouses, our women aren't really capable of receiving that emotion. So we have to be very cautious. It's taken me a long time to learn that lesson, and I've had to learn it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important that you recognize those triggers and do everything you can. We talk about, warrior in the garden mentality a lot. That's something we're both still working on mastering. I don't know if we ever will, but we're certainly striving for that. But having that warrior in the garden mindset and not bringing that rage or that emotional triggers into the home is really important.
Yeah. Keeping in line. It's not about suppression. It's about understanding. It's about embracing. It's about controlling. It's about understanding what a trigger is, what an emotion brings up, and then realigning it to take yourself back to neutral. And it falls, and you made a good point, is emotional intelligence gets taught in a lot of corporate businesses. Yeah. If you are taught emotional intelligence as a manager, supervisor, as a CEO, and you're doing this with your employees, you don't have to go home with them.
Right.
You also aren't compromising yourself by helping them deal with their emotions. Yeah. When you go into a home setting, you're dealing not only with your spouse, your children, your family's emotion, you're dealing with your own emotion at the same time in your safe space.
That's right.
So it changes the dynamic. That's why you can have the most stable, emotionally intelligent person at work, but then when they get home, they break down. That's not just you. It happens to a lot of men. In that setting, I don't have to understand my emotions. All I have to do is deal with that employee's emotions.
In the corporate world, my solutions were always corporate policy driven. It was never about me. In my opinion, it was always, I cited a policy number.
There was a process.
Paragraph. There was a process. So I removed any and all feeling and emotion. However, there comes some pressure and stress behind that. Yeah. So when you go back home and you can't cite a policy or a procedure whenever you have a problem or a situation, we just react. And 100%. That's where we get into trouble.
That drives straight back into resilience building.
Yeah.
Part of a good mindset is being able to have resilience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how you react to things when everything's good. It's not about how you react when you're stable, it's a good day, everything's running. Resilience is having the ability to tap into those mechanisms when things are not going well.
Totally.
Great example that this Navy SEAL gave. He says, he goes in and he has he's had a 12-hour day, he started his own business, he's out of the military. But when he gets home, regardless of how tired he is, he changes his energy for when he walks in, despite the fact that he wants to fall down on the ground.
Yeah.
So he's built resilience to ensure that emotional intelligence is maintained throughout his household because his emotional intelligence and his resilience filters through to not only his spouse, but his kids and everybody around him. So he wants to keep them as high as possible. It's part of purpose for men, is we need to build around and not fall into this trap. It's the Facebook effect, right? On Facebook, everything looks good. But then when you start digging down, because we're putting up this mask for everyone to see, it's about doing it on a day-to-day basis. It's about taking all the times you have in a day. If you work a hard day, how much time do you actually have with your kids, right? You've got 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
How much time a day do you actually have with physically? So think of time, right? Time you spend in the morning when they wake up. So you wake them up, get them ready for school. You have a bite to eat with them. You see how they're doing for their day. And then the next time you're going to see them is in the evening.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to run the same process. So you've got a couple of hours with your kids a day.
I would say on the high side through Friday, well, Monday through Thursday for sure, 4, maybe 5 hours on a good day, 2, maybe 3 on a bad day.
How many of those hours are you consciously with them? So when I say consciously, not just running through the purpose of, okay, put on your shirt, brush your teeth, make sure you got your lunch packed, get in the car, get out the car, pick them up. How much of that time?
We sit and eat dinner together as a family. That's a non-negotiable in our house. We
Nice.
always sit at the dinner table and we talk,
Good rule.
chat. We try not to bring our phones to the table. So my son's a really slow eater, so we get more time with him. But my girls eat pretty quickly, so we'll call that 30 minutes, maybe 45 with my son. We just talk about what's going on in their world and try to make that a safe space for them to open up with us. And then I really want to be better about this. This is something I'm truly working on, trying to be intentional with each of them and do something in playfulness with each of them when I get home. My wife and I too, like what happens with kids, they're creatures of routine with them, because it's just easier. They're close in age. They're 8, 6, and 4.
Yeah.
So bedtime routine, dinner routine, cleanup, bedtime, all blurs really fast. We try to eat dinner by about 6:30 every night. From that point to bedtime, usually between 8 and 9 o'clock, depending on how the day goes. You're banging things out that you need to do with them each time. When we talk actual sit down quality time, maybe it's an hour.
Okay. Now we split that between 3 children, so make it 20 minutes.
My therapist suggested taking 20 minutes with your child to let them play with you.
Yes.
And let them choose what they get to do or whatever it is you want to play.
That's a good rule. That's a good way.
That way they and I found this to be very eye-opening, but basically, let's use my son. Brandon, what do you want to play tonight? Let him dictate what you do for 20 minutes and then do it with each child once a night. They get their night and that's an opportunity for me. I haven't been good at that. So it's something I need to work on, but it allows them to be in control and it gives them a level above you in a sense. What it basically tied it to is behavioral issues. A lot of times when kids have behavioral issues, it's because they're never in control.
True.
And giving them a chance to be. And I'm not a therapist, so just that's a lesson he taught me.
Yeah, well, it's a great lesson. But now let's break it down. So 20 minutes for each child, 5 days a week. We won't count weekends because weekends can get super busy depending on what you're doing as a family. So now consciously a week, you're spending on average 100 minutes with your children. These are people you live with. We don't even talk about your spouse. Just for your kid, you are spending 100 minutes a week. It sounds like a lot, but when you break it down, it's not a lot of time, right?
Really not.
And time goes quickly. So now in that 20 minutes a night, when you are consciously not trying to get them dressed, not trying to get them ready for the next day, being the parent that is consciously part of their lives where we're having eye-to-eye interaction. You have 20 minutes with each child on a good day. On a bad day, it might be 5. So now, do you want that 5 minutes, that 10 minutes, that 20 minutes to be a good interaction or a bad interaction? Emotional intelligence.
So,
how you conduct yourself in front of your child will change dramatically how they perceive you as a parent and how they perceive how they grew up with you.
Yeah.
We as children remember, right, the very smallest things as children. We remember the weirdest interactions you've had. I remember interactions as a 5-year-old with a person I've never met who took 5 minutes to play with me. Right, play. We were having a pool party with a family. I don't remember. There was a friend of a friend of a friend that was there, and they were throwing me up and down in the pool. It was great. I remember this person. I remember their face.
Yeah.
Right. Think about that. That was 5 minutes of positive frequency, positive interaction, good emotional intelligence that carried through to a 45-year-old man.
Right.
You want to be the person your kids remember.
Yeah. A mentor of mine, he basically said that your wife is a reflection of your husband tree. Your children are a reflection of your father tree, or whatever that means. But basically, the point that you're making, I control these outcomes. If I lead and maintain control of my emotions, my mindset is very positive energy, and this is what's really resonated with me through some of the struggles we've been through in my family and marriage. Am I the person they want around or not? I mean, it's just that simple. And if you actually ask your spouse or your children and get vulnerable, don't get angry with the response, because I've dealt with a lot of anger reactions. It's not good. It's not healthy. I truly ask them, do you want to be around me?
Yep.
You might be shocked at the answer. In my case, they didn't want to be around me. Right. And that's hard to hear. So I'm working really hard to go, well, shit, I got to change something. I got to do better. I want my kids to have fun with me. I want my kids to want me to be there. I want my wife to want me to be there. And that's all emotional. We talk our pillars, that mindset, that emotional intelligence, that
resilience,
the resilience.
It all ties. What we tend to do as people, we try to think of the big events, right? The average Joe working a job, he plans his vacation, right? So I've got a vacation at the end of the year. It's 2 weeks. in that 2 weeks, I'm going to give my family everything that they want. We're going to go away. They can eat what they want. It's just going to be that 2 weeks, as much as you think it makes a difference, it's not going to make a slightest difference. The difference is day to day. It's the small things that you take for granted every single day that makes difference. And that falls us straight into our next tenet under mindset, which is cognitive enhancement. Now, what does that mean? It means cognitively, you need to always be working to enhance yourself, whether it be reading. Reading is great. I've always felt that there's two types of people, right? There's probably more, but for my limited understanding of the world,
still layman's life for a reason.
There we go, right? So I've always found that you get two types of people in learning. You get the person who will read and understand or read verbatim. They're very good at memorizing portions and being able to put those filing systems in their brain. So they'll read something, they'll know what they've read and they can recite it to you like a actor can recite lines. But the truly theory of understanding what they've read and how it turns is the difference between a genius and a simple professional.
I summarize it even simpler than that, and I call that book smart versus common sense smart.
What I always found is cognitive enhancement is consistently taking information in, not just taking it in, but trying to break it down and understand what that means in your greater purpose, your universe, how you perceive yourself in the world, how you perceive others in the world, how you want to be remembered. Consistently enhance that cognitive state to try and understand your world better. It's a never-ending process. You'll never know everything. There's always new things to learn. So it's always about constantly trying to enhance. I find reading, understanding, and for a long time in my life, it was always a part of, pick up a book and read, and now I have that information. But I find as I'm progressing and trying to get more in, having the understanding of how other people perceive the same piece of information, how they see it from their perspective, their life, where they are in their life right now, the struggles they've had, the experiences they've had, and then they relay how they see the world in a certain way has been way more valuable than the actual information. It's my belief with AI as we move forward, AI gives you the answer, right? Which is good. I think that we should always try and go, but what I'm finding is if we embrace that, being able to get the answer now, I can spend more time understanding how I got or why that answer is what it is.
Right.
For anybody, when it comes to emotional intelligence, resilience, having consistently reworking your mind and then being able to sit down and go, you know what, whatever I perceive the world, the universe, my life, my spouse, my kids to be, you must always be open to new information and new understanding. Definitely. And that's consistently will enhance your cognitive state.
My take on it is the only, like the expression is, the only constant in life is change. We have to be willing to look ourselves in the mirror, be vulnerable, and be willing to change. I think that change stems from a place of a drive to evolve, a drive to want to be better. You and I both are very much this type of people. We're in the pursuit of greatness.
Yes. And when we say greatness, it's not from anyone else's perspective. It's being as an individual in your own reality, understanding that my purpose where I am in the health, the only person that must be okay with it is me.
Yeah. For me, how great can I be? I think about my wife and kids are my everything, right?
Yes.
That's my number one. That's my priority. And believe me, I fucked up for a long time. And I know that. But I have to give myself grace because I'm human. And I've dealt with the same challenges we all face, the stress of career, finances, providing them a valuable life and a better life
that experience, those experiences,
we wouldn't be here today.
You wouldn't be here. So you make a great point there because your experience is that everything that you've led to, nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. Every one of those difficulties has built you into the man you are today.
Totally.
And that is how you should see everything, right? So for cognitive enhancement is consistently looking at things and going, you know what, whatever's happened to me is an experience that drives me to be higher. It's experience that drives me to greatness.
The greatness for me is, how do I want to be remembered? I've lost some friends over the past week. Well, it's been a few weeks now, but a couple very sad, catastrophic scenarios. One was a head-on collision that was tragic accident. And then a friend of my family's, my wife's side of the family. But to me, how do I want to be remembered? When my time is up, when it's my time to leave this world, how am I going to be remembered? I think a lot of us think when we're just successful in our careers, we've made lots of money, and we're leaving them our legacy of financial well-being. I don't think anybody cares about that in the end.
At least not within 2 lifetimes. You make a good point there. So I always like using Arnold Schwarzenegger as this example.
Yeah.
Okay. We grew up with him as an icon.
Yeah, for
right.
sure.
So for us, and I'm not talking about someone who follows weight training or sees that. I'm talking about the real average person, right?
Everybody knows.
The average 25-year-old has no idea who he is.
Sad.
Right. And it's not really sad. It ties in. No matter how rich, no matter how famous he was at a time, he will always be in the books of history. He will always be remembered for certain things he did because he was an icon in those eras.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, no one knows who he is now. By the time our grandkids are walking around, no one will know who he was.
That's right.
And it won't matter. What will matter is who the people around him at that time. Mm-hmm. They'll be long gone. Mm-hmm. They are the ones he leaves legacy with. It's what he physically did. And I think Arnold's a good example because he's left some good legacies on multiple levels. He's got a good mindset. So he's a great example of someone is. But now, not all of us are going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No.
So you have to know that greatness for me is one day when my eyes close permanently, that last thought that goes to your head is you did everything in your life
I did my best
to be the best version of yourself.
Totally. I don't leave anything on the table.
There you go. That's greatness. And that's a great one to go into the next one, which is mental health, right?
That's a big one.
And that is why it's at the end of the mindset part, because if you have those first 3 in time, you probably won't have mental health issues. And mental health is a very difficult pill to swallow because there's so many things that you can do to avert it, but it's so difficult to tell someone in that state.
Yes.
It's like sitting with someone who's dealing with depression. There's, Andrew Tate is, right? So Andrew Tate's a weird one for me because there's a lot that he says that resonates with me, but there's certain things that he's a shock jock who's trying to get a reaction. I mentioned the other day about depression. I had my own personal story on this, which is interesting. If I listened to Andrew Tate 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and he said depression isn't real, I'd believe it. So I never had depression until I met my wife and she explained the process of depression. And I saw that the way that it laid out, it's very easy to dismiss mental health for others. Yeah. Because if you're not dealing with the same issues, it's easy to go, well, suck it up, princess, make it better. But you're not dealing with what they're dealing with.
Right.
And what they're dealing with might to you seem inconsequential. Yeah. But it's not to them.
That's right.
So I think, especially for men, trying to find purpose in the world, where do we fit in? How do we fit in? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? A lot of what we're doing in the Layman's Lab is to try and give you those fundamental principles to allow you to be your best version of yourself. And if you can attain and constantly work to being that best version, mental health will become less of an issue than what it probably currently is for you. And there's many mechanisms to try and tackle it.
Yeah, this one, as you know, is a really big one for me as a veteran who's had my own struggles. I would agree with that. I don't know that I've ever been in a state of depression, but I've definitely had my mental health struggles. And there's a lot of veterans out there who have as well. And I have a friend who recommended a book to me some time ago called The Untethered Soul. That book talks about the person between your ears. Like we've all seen the cartoons where you got the little devil on one shoulder and the little angel on the other shoulder, and they're both talking to you, right? And which one do you choose to listen to is really how I'm seeing this, right? And that book talks a lot about that, where if we took the person outside, there's a person in ourselves that's always talking, right? When we're not talking physically out loud, there's a person in my head always having a conversation in my head, right? So it's all about maintaining control of that individual. And if we put that person in a chair right next to us, it's very likely we're not going to like who that individual is because they're just fucking negative, right? It's the little devil inside of you, if you will. Yeah. So what's really important is positive self-talk and really driving to find a higher purpose, which is what we all need as men. I think women as well. But we need that higher purpose and finding a way or a path to it, which is why we're all here, but we struggle to identify, right? And so the mental health part of it, if you're listening and you're in a deep, dark place, don't be afraid to get help. But what always concerns me, especially around veterans, is that we try to do a prescription to fix it. I don't think you need a prescription to fix these mental health issues. I think there's a recipe that we're going to help uncover to help you resolve some of these things. And I think a really important thing is don't think you should fix this on your own. Get
There's
around a
help.
community, get around people like us that are
Yes.
going to pull you along and help you better yourself. We're going to shine our light. We're not going to step back to where you are because we've overcome a lot of things. But if you walk towards our light, you're going to get out of it. This is something I'm really passionate about helping people with. And honestly, this is why I want us to do this, because mental health is the biggest crisis we have in our country right now.
And the biggest one with men,
Yep.
I do not know a man, right, that I've been able to sit with and have a deep conversation with that does not have some form of mental health issues.
100%.
Some of them are as light as trying to figure out my purpose, my spirituality, where do I fit in. Some of them are when I say mental health, we're not talking about mental illness. What happens is you're dealing with the fundamental aspects of being a man in the modern world. It's just part of what we are.
Society allows us to become victims way too easily, right?
Yes.
My friend Jason, who's a SEAL, says victimhood breeds victimhood. You have to take matters into your own hands. And you can't feel sorry for yourself and your circumstances because we all have problems. We all have issues. We all have things that we're going through. I think a lot of men, we have a tendency to let it build up and we keep it inside. And I'm one of these where I get emotional over my wife and kids. That's about one of the only things I'll get emotional about. They mean a whole lot to me. They're very important to me. Who do you turn to for help? And I think we have a tendency to like, just men are always like, hey, I'm good. I got this.
Yeah.
And we're really not. We need help.
Yeah. And again, it comes down emotional intelligence, perception of self, ego is all of us are dealing with shit.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of this for a large portion of my life. I'm sure a lot of men out there will resonate with this.
Yeah.
I was brought up in a way that if you have problems in your life, go figure it out.
Yeah.
No one's there for you. No one's available for you. So for a large portion of my life, I didn't think I needed people. And when I say people, not general people, other men, a brotherhood. I had parts of it in training. I had parts of it in sport. A lot of times, and it seems to be getting better now through the avenues of information and understanding masculinity. You know, we've been thrown into the pits. We're the worst thing in the world, according to the woke mob.
Sure.
So to stand there and say, I'm not going to let anybody tell me
Right.
that I'm worth nothing. And I'm going to surround myself with men who want to be better, because what happens is we're only going to be better by raising each other up.
Right.
Each of our problems are going to be unique. Each of us are going to have a different perspective. And what we're going to do is we're going to raise up. You come with a perspective of being in the armed forces. That already comes with a multitude of problems with men trying to see their purpose after having served, now being put back into the real world going, wow, this is what I've got to deal with. And that's a great, unique perspective. My perspective coming in is understanding these things that we're dealing with and trying to use the tenets we have, because those are the things that have saved me from my mental health. And I'm sure that's the same for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive
really
into
quick
this.
before we get too far past this. When you and I met, we both had a very small circle. And we both agreed at that time there was a reason behind why we had a small circle, is because there was very few people, if any, that we could find that had the mindsets that we had, where we were driven to do all these things that we're talking about. So it's really important that if you have toxic in your life, and we've talked a lot about this with both of us, like if we have toxic in our life, we cut it out.
Yeah.
You have to, because if you don't, it's like the little devil we were talking about. If you keep letting that voice overtake you, well, guess what? It doesn't have to come to the voice in your head. It could be people.
Yeah.
If you have a negative, toxic person who's just constantly agreeing with your negative space or bringing you down,
It just makes it
it's
bigger
just
and
going
bigger.
to amplify your problems and make them even worse. You have to surround yourself with the right people.
And what I'd like to tell everyone is, so with me moving to the United States, I've been in the United States 2 years this month.
Nice.
Right? Having met people, right? The first person being Kevin, someone who's on the same frequency as me, who's kind of sees this world the same way. So I always say match frequency with those people and you always raise each other up.
Yeah.
What I found is the minute that we started this, how big is our circle map?
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Right. We're growing
It's growing.
exponentially. We've got guys in our circle coming in and we're resonating with more people, and it's growing a brotherhood.
Yeah.
So we can help each other be better.
Yeah. Well, I think honestly, this is a little egotistical, but whatever. People, we're big guys that carry presence, and we walk into a room and people see, like, and just in general, I think we're both very positive, upbeat, good, genuine dudes. And people see what we're doing and what we're putting out there, and they want to be a part of that. People want to be a part of something bigger and better, but they also don't know. Like, I think about some of the folks that have entered our lives they haven't had people that have achieved what we have say, come on, follow me. They've always just been on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm excited about. When it comes to mental health, I know we're going to tie this, I think is a good segue into spirit,
Yeah.
but like it's really about almost finding the cheerleader for you. And I don't know, you want to start diving into spirit?
Spirit is one where I find a lot of men talk about it. They talk about their, religion, and it always goes back to religion. Especially we're in Florida. It's a very big Christian community out here, right? But it's not just religion. It's, the first part on the spirit is finding purpose and meaning. What does purpose and meaning mean for you from a spirituality standpoint? It's not about how much weight you can lift, what job you have, how much money you have in the bank. It's finding that piece of yourself that's more than what you believe it is, right? So I always talk about religion, and you've had your experience with religion. And I feel like religion, I had this discussion with a wonderful guy yesterday, and he was talking as a Christian man, how he's found it difficult to comprehend religion, right? We're Christian religion, not faith, religion. And how religion works in where it kind of boxes things in and saying, okay, if you don't fit these pegs, we're not talking about evil people, we're talking about good people. And his example was some kid in Syria who's never known the word Jesus, he's never been experienced Christianity. He's not going to be saved. My God doesn't accept him. And I said to him, no, that's the human part that's trying to box and control us. Every time in our entire history, something that's good, that has moral standing, that people resonate. There's people in our society that take that and realize that can gain them money, power, and control. So that they put it into a box. It doesn't mean every church is bad. It doesn't mean your pastor's a bad guy. But you have to understand, we are not smart enough, big enough, in any way to put any type of faith, right, and spirit and our spirituality in a box. It's a constantly evolving understanding of where we are, and we will never fully comprehend it. Once you accept that, embrace the pure beauty of every religion that has a good moral stance, you realize that is all the things you're looking for. It's the beauty in other people. It's the things that you see that give you that warm feeling. It's finding that, wow, I see humanity as a good thing. It's seeing a child smile and just be themselves. Those are the good things of spirituality that you want to embrace. And finding purpose and meaning, for me, at least personally, is within spirituality, understanding your place in this world. You're put here for experience. That experience is a choice, right? Whether you follow a Christian faith or you're following a baseline, the reality is, what did God give each and every human being? Free will to make their own choices regardless. Those choices have been given to you for a reason. So that comes in with accountability. You want to know what your purpose is in this world? Start by being a good, kind, loving human being.
I like it.
If you can just start with that, purpose and meaning becomes so much easier to define.
I grew up with religion, as you know, and at some point, I'm sure we'll really peel back the onion about the religious stuff. I love Jesus. I believe in Jesus. That's something that's near and dear to my heart with faith. But religion, in my eyes, is manipulation of people. There is good. I just remember when I came to a place in my life where I was able to think for myself and really, I love to ask the question, why? Well, it's one of my favorite questions in the English language, why? Because to me, if we don't push back on the narratives, well, just to be direct about it, if we don't push back on the narratives, we'd be a communist country. So you have to push back. When it comes to religion and the way I grew up with all the strictness and the rules, I would always ask the question why, and I'd really push back on stuff. And I want to understand why we do that, right? When it comes to what you said about the child in Syria who doesn't know Jesus ever, never even heard of him, you're telling me that he was never even communicated about the word of God and he's just going to perish? I don't see it that way either. I agree with you. If God is the God that we believe that he is, he's a forgiving and loving God. He walked the earth amongst the people. He didn't go into a church and declare religion. Religion is man's twist on faith. If you really want to break this down, these mega churches, if we want to talk about some of the churches that are corrupt, they're all about their revenue that they create. When it comes down to purpose and meaning, like in spiritual world, like I really truly am passionate about the idea of seeking your best version of yourself,
Yes.
seeking to have peace. You talked about the love, joy, and I have found a difference in my life by going through the register saying, "Hey, how are you?" Just making eye contact. Walk through a parking lot and watch how many people won't look at you.
Yeah.
I was in the grocery store last night with my daughter. We were grabbing some stuff. And this, like, it was a married couple. Guy was older than me. He was a big guy. He looked like he was relatively in shape. Wouldn't make eye contact with me. I looked at him the whole time. Like, hey, excuse me. I'm sorry. Like I was in his way. So then but he wouldn't look at me the whole time. That blows my mind. To me, that's a spirit-filled life. That's me being, if I'm intentional, I'm going to look you in the eye when I see you walking through the parking lot. I've been doing this on
And that's
purpose
connection,
lately.
right?
Yeah, just said, hey, how are you? I'm a big dude, so I'm not going to be scary. I'm just going to smile and say hi. I'm really trying to be better about
Spiritual connection.
spiritual connections, just being happy.
And you make a good point in that, because the next point on that is spiritual exploration, right? So don't be scared, right? Because we're taught, especially in religions, are taught, don't question anything.
Yes.
You do what you tell us to do.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson made a great point when he was talking about COVID, right? And he was saying,
Pull that thought really quick.
Yeah.
The way I was taught with religion was that we're right, everyone else is wrong.
and then if you question that, then you're wrong. How dare you question?
Right. And then it leaves a lot of guilt and
Yes.
struggles for people in their adult lives.
Where I think for spirituality, regardless of your religious viewpoint, you should be able to ask generalized questions. And your pastor, your priest, whoever is your spiritual guide should be comfortable enough in the spirituality to look at you and go, you know what? I don't actually know the answer to that question because it's bigger than what I am.
Totally.
This is what I do know, right? Like I said, it always comes down to love and kindness,
Totally.
right? And acts of selflessness.
Yes.
So what I always find is in spiritual exploration, lots of places, I have a conversation with someone and they go, okay, we live in a matrix, right? We do live in a matrix. Your matrix is your government that controls your aspects of society. There's good things about it because we have controls that come with safety,
Yep.
right? And it comes with a higher standard of living.
Yep.
But what if someone said to you, well, how do you know we're not a computer simulation? I can't prove him wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't prove him right either.
There's a lot of things we can make cases for.
We can make cases for, right? So what you must be open in spiritual exploration, you should be open to listening to other people's. Don't box yourself. Don't put yourself in this little box. Think how limiting that is. It's such a limiting belief because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in this box and saying, I'm right, everyone's wrong. But you know deep down when you ask those fundamental questions, you know that what you're saying is wrong. I like to go back to one of the other ones, which is consciousness. Consciousness is not a new standpoint, but it's trying to explain what God is. Is God a person sitting on a cloud? Is he a prophet? Is he Jesus? Is he the Holy Spirit? Is he all of it? Is he the universe? Does it really matter? No. What matters is stop trying to fight with everybody to believe what you believe and follow the baseline of what we should be doing as human beings. We should be interacting with each other on a level where we try to understand each other. We try to communicate. We do it with kindness. We do it with love. We try and be conscientious of each other, and we try to uplift each other through frequency consistently. Regardless of your religious belief, be open to the idea. Don't condone bad actions, right? Don't condone them. It doesn't matter. You know, you go through the Catholic Church, and for how many thousands of years, the Catholic Church has condoned terrible, terrible actions because of the church. You should look at that and go, don't condone it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be Catholic. That doesn't mean that the message of the Catholic Church is evil. It means that you should understand that your religion has been based around human beings. Dig deep, dig deep. Doesn't matter what religion. Dig up to the baseline of being. And all religions, to the largest degree, talk about the act of being selfless, loving, and kind.
I've had a very unique experience when it comes to church, not to belinger this point, but like the church that I grew up in, the pastor ended up in prison for sex with a minor. One of the things I had a conversation with my mom about was we're all human beings. What happened in their place is they idolized a person, and then he got bigger than himself because it was a big church. It was a mega church, a lot of power, a lot of money, et cetera. Versus my experience in my adult life where we go to church now. This was many years ago. I just remember feeling a lot different about this church because the pastor himself stood up in front of a big group of men and was like, hey, I'm going through this class as well because I need this just as much as you need this.
Humility.
Because and he's like, I'm not anybody special. I struggled just like you. I have all these things. He actually sat next to me. I was blown away by this.
Just the story alone of how you're explaining it. Just That's what it's about.
It's humility. Yeah.
It's humility. It's sitting here we're not sitting here telling you how you should live your life.
But what I've loved about our church is that they've had multiple pastors.
Yeah.
It's a non-denominational church, but multiple pastors, and they rotate through.
That's awesome.
Because it's not the same person every single week standing up there giving you a message about God. It's literally rotated, right? They're different personalities, human beings in general. They give you real life messages. It's amazing. My whole thought is like, power can be really a bad thing, right? Yeah. We know this, and we don't have to dive into all that stuff. But if we're conscious of who we are, and a big thing we talk about is just being happy.
Yes.
That's what we all want. Even the miserable person would tell you that if you offer them love and happiness, they would take it.
That's all we want.
Right. And so to me, that's what spirit is about for us, is seeking happiness, seeking love and joy. But guess what? If I want to receive love and joy, I better give some love and joy.
Yes.
And if I go around my day, and I'm unfortunately just one of these people that has a scowl when I'm walking or going someplace, so I have to be intentional about opening myself up.
Yes.
Because I'm always thinking, I'm always curious, right? I've got to be better about just being happy. But if I spread love and joy, I'm going to receive love.
Absolutely. It's frequency, right? It's putting out that same energy to receive the same energy. And you can define it in every religion, but it's the same thing. What always interests me, and one thing we're going to dive into, is the masculine identity and the spirituality, right? What is the difference between a religion and a cult?
I don't think there is a difference based on my experience.
Okay. So simplest terms. Usually a cult, the guy who started it still alive. Religion, the person who started is dead. But essentially it could be the same thing.
Okay.
Perspective is everything. The main thing though is, as men, your purpose in life, right? For all human beings, it's not even for men, is you want love and happiness.
Yeah.
Baseline. When you break down everybody, all they want is love and happiness, right? That comes with acceptance and a whole range of things, but it's love and happiness. In order to get that as a man in this world, there's a position we have as men, understanding that we are, I don't care if you get upset with this and go, men and women are the same, we are not the same. Right. If we were the same, we would just have one sex, there would be no species difference. We are different. Yeah. Men have a certain purpose in life. Understanding that masculine identity and how it fits into spirituality, and understanding that kindness isn't weakness.
Right.
Right. You can be kind and never be weak.
That's right.
And understanding your methodology in regards to how you perceive yourself in the world, and not falling into the trap of trying to be powerful or trying to overpower others. Your masculine identity isn't about dominance.
Right.
Your masculine identity is that of the warrior in the garden that is there to protect the herd. That is your purpose. You hope you never have to, but you always want to be prepared for it. You have to be able to get along with the herd, tend to the garden, and live in this world in love and kindness until you have to step up as a man.
Yeah. One of the struggles that I've had, and I think a lot of men probably have, especially doing what I've done, you've had, very similar but different experiences in this realm where high-level athletes, you did security work in some pretty hostile environments. I was in the military deployment zones. Anyway, you come off of that and you're like this testosterone, high-level, driven type dude who's really aggressive. But then we marry a female that doesn't need that.
Yeah.
She wants to know she's protected, but she can't.
She wants the protection, but she doesn't have to deal with your bullshit and trying to be
right.
Your bravado doesn't mean anything to
right. So what I will say, I'll get to my point, and my daughters have actually really helped me identify what I need to be as a man for my wife.
Yes.
And it's crazy how this is, but my girls love being feminine, and trying to be supportive to that made me realize, holy shit, I didn't do that for my wife.
Yes.
And I would tell any man listening to this, any high level, veterans, combat veterans, athletes, former athletes, any entrepreneur man that's just full of testosterone and fire, you got to be aware of yourself.
Balance.
And that's what this masculine identity problem has stemmed from. We've taken too many of our toxic traits and given them to our women, not realizing what we did. There's been so much trauma created by poor masculinity, if you will.
There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just toxicity. Toxic is toxic, right? Whether it's attaching it to feminine, masculine is all bullshit.
Well,
assholes.
I'm never going to justify somebody's behaviors or actions, but when you think about an abusive father or a spouse, right? something happened to them.
Yeah.
There's traumas in their life that were never
100%.
addressed. It doesn't justify what they've done. It doesn't excuse what they've done. If we understand, you and I talked about this after in our meal earlier. My grandfather, who's passed away, I'll talk about him. My dad was the way he was. And then understanding that his dad was a coal miner for 40 years and ran over a man in a trolley cart that he drove in the coal mines, took that man's life. I'm sure there was a massive amount of trauma associated with that was passed on to my father, that was passed on to me.
Yes.
So it's important that we understand, when we talk masculine identity, we have to understand our lineage. Really
So
important that we dive into that.
the cycle.
And I'm going to use my men's group quote again. Chains of our fathers will be the chains of our sons and daughters unless we break them. I can't wait to be able to put this tattoo down my left arm, but I have a great tattoo that we came up with when I was with Helene. That's all about breaking those chains.
Yes.
Understanding that those generational traumas don't have to carry over. We can break them.
You're always in control, and understanding your spirituality and where you fit in the world and your identity makes a big difference. So what is consciousness? It is the understanding that we are all interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if you think we are or not. Mm-hmm. The guy on the other side of the world, you would probably make the same decisions as he did. Mm-hmm. It's understanding that you are no more or less than anyone on this planet and anyone within the realm, and that consciously we're all the same person, living different versions, different experiences, different perspectives, right? All feeding in to be a better consciousness, raising frequency. The higher we raise our frequency as human beings, and we're always attaining to be kind, loving, raise everyone up. Raise your frequency, be the change in the world you want to see. The more you attain to this and you spread that message, not by telling people what to do, by being the example that you want to be to others. Right. They must make their own choice. But as you raise frequency, what you start getting is you start getting communities like ours. You start finding a friend community. You start finding a brotherhood. You start finding people that have like-minded ideas, which then changes how you live your day-to-day life. Life becomes the brightest thing you can see. That is what consciousness is, the interconnection between us, that we're always sharing experiences. One day when we leave this realm, whether you call it heaven, the next life, our consciousness is all going to go to the same place, and we're going to share these experiences to better ourselves in this life and the next. It's about raising that consciousness, which brings me to a great point, which is our last tenet, and the one that I think a lot of people misunderstand, which is abundance. So abundance in a nutshell, some people relate abundance to what they have in their life, right? How much money do I have in my bank account? What car do I drive? How many girlfriends do I have? Or how hot is my girlfriend? None of that relates to abundance. What abundance is having so much love, happiness, high frequency, everything in my life about abundance raises me up. That is when you are truly wealthy. And you want to have an abundance mindset. If you have a lack mindset, you will push away. Like pulls like, right? Within the money realm is when you think money, when you are money, when you drive money, but you're not worried about money. Abundance comes to you, right? And when you have a lack mindset, that lack mindset creates lack. You will have less. So it's about looking at your life on a daily basis, seeing the things you have. If you stay in the United States, you are abundant. Whether you're in a bad situation, I'm not questioning each situation. Nothing happens to you, it happens for you. But you're abundant, right? If you have someone who loves you, a wife, a girlfriend, kids, mom, dad, you're abundant. Right? If you have a roof over your head, you're abundant. You have food in your stomach, you're abundant. Abundance is a perception of looking at my life and always realizing that I am lucky to be here. And it is a beautiful existence that I must always try and attain and raise my frequency up so that I live in abundance and I don't live in a lack mindset.
Wealth, family or community, our love, and then entrepreneurship is like the subtenets. But to me, these are all interconnected.
They're all connected.
When you are faced with a space where everything that I know and love is going to collapse around me, I'm going to lose what matters the most. And unfortunately, I've lived that. You have two ways to go. Okay. You can get upset and lose it, or you can really stop. This ties back into spiritual a little bit, but a lot, but I did like 2024 for me. If you would ask me in the middle of the year, I would have said sucked big time. by the end of the year, I said, I had to have it. That was so important for me. When we talk abundance, every day I wake up right now, I am grateful. I'm grateful for who I'm waking up next to, who I get to wake up in that morning, what I get to do. We're building something. I love what we're building. Yeah. All the other ventures that I have are going to help fuel this venture. It's exciting for me to wake up and get going. I'm passionate about this stuff, but having gratitude to wake up every day to go do something that I'm finally like, yes, I'm here. I'm finally living out what I wanted to live out. Every day I wake up and I realize if I wouldn't have been faced with that challenging year, would I really have had the abundance mindset? I'm still working on truly grasping the abundance mindset, but I wake up every day with gratitude because I have one more day on this earth to do better. I have one more day to come in here and do better in business and our ventures in the gym, with my marriage, with my kids, everything. And when you look at it and you're grateful for one more day, that to me is abundance. You can easily wake up every day and find a million problems. Yes. It's easy to do. In business, especially, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that follow us. Problems happen every day. It's about how you respond to it.
Do you respond negatively? How you perceive it? Whether is it a challenge? Is it not a challenge? Is it an easy day? Is it a hard day? How do I attack that day? When I see that day coming, do I look at it? Because it's a choice. Abundance is a choice. And for anyone going through a hard time, it's very difficult to grasp your head around it when things are not going well. But if I can give you one piece of advice, when things are going their worst, if you can switch your mindset to abundance, it's not about wealth. It's not about how much money is in your bank account. You can have no money in your bank account and you could still be living in abundance, because regardless of the fact that you woke up a physically able being who can think.
Problems are going to happen, right? I just had this conversation with someone yesterday who was in their first year of business. I heard a very successful entrepreneur say, like, if you didn't fail in business, if you didn't fail forward on things, when you fail or mess something up, you know what not to do for the next round. That entrepreneur was like, I'm so successful because the average person who's under the safety net of the corporate paycheck wants to take the chance, but won't ever take the chance.
Yes.
By the time they do it, I've already failed 25 times or however many times he's failed before they ever even got started. Yes. And look at all the lessons that he's learned along those failures.
Yeah, each failure comes with lessons, experience.
So if you have gratitude to say, well, yeah, these are temporary times, right? These hardships are temporary. But if I learn through these failures and move forward and have gratitude for these opportunities to have this problem in the first place.
Yes.
I remember being in the corporate world, wanting to be in the entrepreneur space, wanting to get to that place.
Everyone wants to be.
Everybody wants to be there. But the difference is we made that leap and others didn't. And now when we fail, we have gratitude because you know what? Nobody controls me.
No. And
I live how I want to live. And we do it how we want to do it.
Yeah. And failure is not a sentence. It's not something you throw in the bucket of, oh, I failed. It's a bad thing. If you have failed in business, if you have failed in relationships, if you have failed in multiple things in life, failure is a really good thing in the weightlifting space, because failure means that you push yourself to your absolute limit. Now listen to that. You pushed yourself to failure. If you've gone into business and for whatever reason you failed, maybe you didn't push hard enough, maybe you didn't have enough knowledge, maybe you didn't have enough finance. It doesn't really matter why you failed. You now know why you failed.
That's right.
And now what's going to happen is you have gained a ton of experience, life knowledge. If I had to just count on my hand, I've failed at so many businesses. Each failure brought me closer. And right now, you know me on a day-to-day level. My skill sets are insane.
Yeah.
I know so many things about so many different skills.
Yeah.
And every time that I look at it, I can start adapting and putting things together. And that's the abundance mindset. Nothing that I've done in my life is a failure.
Which we've had some, like you specifically shared some of this with me recently, and I know I've experienced the same thing. We have an abundance mindset, but those who don't will miss that abundance that's right in front of them, and they continue to shoot themselves in the foot because they're not opening their eyes to what's right in front of them.
Yes.
So to me, this abundance is so important, and I'm really glad that this tenet. There's probably going to be a lot of people listening to us that don't even understand the abundance. They think they understand what abundance is, but they don't. And then realizing all that you're missing by not being aware of yourself and the things in front of you that are at your grasp and available to you if you would just open your eyes to it.
That's such a good point. If you look at our tenets and you drive through them, all of them drive towards the abundance mindset. If you follow the other 3 tenets and you have the sub-tenets and you're starting to lock them in, what will happen inevitably is your mind will be opened up. Cognitively, you'll go, wow, the world is amazing.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are, what's happening. Listen, and that doesn't mean that at no point, if anyone's listening, at no point do we sit down and go, I've done everything, I'm done. I'm never going to be done.
Never.
I am going to die super rich or super successful or die trying. It's got nothing to do with it's got nothing to do with the amount of money, the success level to reach. The point is, I will never, ever stop trying to be the best version of myself.
Let me ask you a quick question, because this is going into the vision side to abundance. What's your dream car? When you're rich and wealthy, what do you want to buy?
Honestly, I want to rebuild a Hummer. I want to grab one of the old school US military Hummers, rebuild that and have all the modern takes on it.
Mine's a Ferrari. My vision is that we're manifesting.
You're not going to fit in a Ferrari, Kevin. Right, Kevin?
I got the money.
You're not going to fit in a Ferrari.
Doesn't matter, but I have the money to buy it. That's my point. So when I squeeze my fat ass in there, and that's not fat. When I squeeze my ass into this thing, my vision is that we're going to manifest the things that we want.
Yes.
And that abundance is a massive part of this. We have vision. And like you said, we're going to die trying.
And here's the thing is that someone listening, you might be going, they're going to die trying. Yes. Why? If you retire, if you stop working, if you stop pushing, if you stop living, if you stop loving, you stop doing all the things on a daily basis that makes life worthwhile. Life is good and great when we constantly drive. The tree outside, what does it do? It grows as big as it can without question. It doesn't decide. You give it less light, right? So I take that tree growing outside and I put that inside this room and there's limited light. How much is it going to grow?
In here, yeah. That's
right.
right.
Whatever limitations are placed on it, right? And everyone has limitations. Not everyone is as smart or as adept in certain places. That's fine. Not everybody's a pro athlete. Not everybody is a genius who can go do accounting, right? Everybody has levels.
Mm-hmm.
Grow as much as you can within the realm of your possibility without limitation.
One thing I like about your analogy when you use the tree, I think about a pot, like a pot for a plant, right?
Yeah.
If the size of pot you choose for the plant is how big it will grow. And I think a lot of people are going to choose the small pot because it's safe.
Yes.
Well, we want the big pot. We want that tree. Actually, to be honest, I want to destroy the pot so it can grow as big as it possibly can. And to me, like that's what the abundance mindset's all about. Like it's removing limiting beliefs, believing in yourself, an abundance mindset. I want to work 30 hours a week and have lots of money so that I can take my family to enjoy experiences.
Create your reality.
I want to do the things that we love and enjoy on a daily basis, which is what we're building.
Yeah. Create your own reality.
Abundance is where it starts.
That mindset will drive and go deeper into each level of it. Bottom line, don't limit yourself to what you think you can do. Never limit yourself to what you think your limitations are.
Yep.
Test every single aspect of your life. Push hard. Doesn't matter if it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. From an abundance standpoint, always know that you can aspire to be more. If someone else can attain something,
that's right,
so can you. Those people that attain something you aspire to haven't been put there to say, well, they've attained it, so I can't. They've been put there to go, if they can do it,
that's right,
I can do it. My experience, my level is going to be different. How I'm going to get there is going to be different.
Yep.
You're not that person, but they're giving you a point to aim for.
Totally.
The moon. You aim no lower than the moon.
Totally.
Ever.
It's good shit.
Aim as high as you can. And that's what